Welcome back to our packing and gear videos. This one is mostly for photographers, although I'll be saying a few things I didn't say in the packing video regarding power and adapters for power and maybe a few other things, so do tell your significant other about that. It's on the handout though, although I have to send you some new handouts because I have some stuff related to Kenya on the stuff I've already sent you. I'll change it to Southern Africa where appropriate, because there's only a couple. So first, I'm not going to talk a lot about cameras and lenses. I'm just going to let you know that Cindy and I will be bringing at least 2 cameras, 2 bodies, and a lot of different lenses. That's not to say that you have to do the same thing. You do what you want to do as far as photography goes. We're happy to support you any way we can, and we'll train you with as much or as little information as you want us to. It's going to be fun, so don't want you to get lost in the technical stuff. So. But I would say if you're just going to bring 2 lenses with a regular DSLR kind of camera body, whether it's a DSLR or whether it's a mirrorless, I would go with a range of like 24 to 105 and 100 to 400. That covers about 80 to 90% of any photography needs in Africa. If you want to add to that and we're do some night photography, maybe some nights, maybe go 16 millimeters with a really low aperture like 1.4, 1.8 if you can. But we'll work with whatever you have. And if you want to go longer because you want to do bird photography, like 600, if you have 150 to 600, or you have a 600 prime or whatever, bring them. We're happy to kind of work with you on them. So, but that's just that information about basic cameras and lenses. If you shoot infrared, I shoot a lot of infrared. I've had 6 cameras retrofitted so far, and I will be bringing a IR camera to Africa. It can be spectacular. The sky in Southern Africa is magical, even during the day. The clouds are usually pretty spectacular, especially this time of year. I've been to Botswana and Zimbabwe this time of year, and we get these big cumulonimbus complexes that can be really pretty, especially with infrared. So if you're going to do IR, let me know if you need any help or any guidance on that. So just to let you know. Lens filters. I'm not a big lens filter person. I think, especially when we're looking at stealing light away from the sensors. So you can do it. I typically just use polarizing filters if I want to pop the sky, if I want to cut through reflections. But that's about it, and I'm very selective because we want to maintain the speed of our cameras. So if you're worried about the front element of your camera, a UV filter may be slightly protective, but it really isn't for any big thing. The best thing you could do is use lens hoods. If you have lens hoods, don't leave them off your cameras. Put them on correctly so that you don't get vignetting. So, flashes. So there will be some opportunity maybe when you get leopards and trees and things like that where they're in the shadows and the sky is really bright and you want to blow out the sky, but you want to properly expose for the animal. I do use a flash oftentimes if these animals are just lounging up in the trees and I want to get them properly exposed. And I use a better beamer. So this is a flash extension sort of device. You can buy those at probably Amazon, B&H, Hunts. It gives you about 2.5 more stops of light, and that's precious light. So you can have a blue sky with a properly exposed animal in the tree. But I don't use them very often. And so that's just, I'll be bringing them though, for sure. Because you can get some great stuff like that. You know, leopard with some prey up in the tree, you know, eating away, and it's in the dark shadow. It's really hard to get. And if you open the camera wide open, you get the properly exposed animal, but you blow out the sky. Part of Africa's story is the sky, especially when there's nothing going on, the animal's not moving. I don't hesitate to use the fill flash. So, Hoodman loops. So Cindy has a saying that she says, loop before you leave, and there's a lot of credibility to that. And so I would definitely make sure you bring some kind of loop. This is a Hoodman loop. You can get the kind that kind of has a telescoping kind of cable that kind of snaps it back against your chest if you want. I just use this little necklace type one. So I would highly recommend you consider something like that. When the action's going on, you're not going to be looping, but you should loop when you have time at different places. When we're watching a pride of lions or a pod of hippos or whatever. So you should consider looping fairly frequently. Just don't miss out on opportunities because you're chimping. So chimping is a term we call when you should be like working the scene and not like reviewing your great images that you got, because you might miss something even better. So if you hear me say chimping is for chumps, it's just what I mean. So tripods, monopods, beanbags. So if you're planning on doing any night photography, you can't do that handheld. A little travel tripod like this is really handy. We've got plenty of weight allowance, so I would go small with the tripod. I wouldn't use a big hardy one because we're not going to use a 600mm lens or big rig on it. We're going for the sky, so it's going to be a camera with a small lens. So a small tripod. That's the only purpose for this trip, because there may be opportunities where you'll have to be able to have a row of seats to yourself sometimes on some of the drives, but I wouldn't count on it because we budgeted mostly for 2 to a seat. I think at one of the camps, Mashatu, might be 3 to a seat even. So just so you know, that's what I would use this for. Monopods are handy though. So you can set up your rig so that you have this sort of swivel device that you can get from Really Right Stuff with a quick disconnect, and you can put a 600 on it, and it's very sturdy and it's telescoping. So it's small enough that if you want to use a monopod, that's great. These vehicles are mostly open. They don't have a lot of covers, and so that's why the rain gear issues that we talked about, because they're not going to be able to be buttoned up like some of the East Africa vehicles are. So, but this could come in handy for stabilization. There will be kind of bars and platforms on some of the vehicles that you can rest your camera on. It's best to rest it on something in addition to that, like a beanbag of some kind. This is a Kinesis beanbag for stabilization, because if you really want to get properly exposed images and not really push your ISO really, really high up, you may have to reduce the speed of the camera commensurate with that so that you have the camera super stable. So I would consider bringing a beanbag. Okay, so the beans are not beans that go in it, just so you know. You could bring hulls from buckwheat with you, which I did last time, or you can go into the camps and they'll just fill them up with pebbles and things. Some of the camps vehicles have bean bags on board, some do not. Some have power on board, some do not. So don't count on it. So let's see. Camera straps. I use, in addition to just regular stuff, I use this Black Rapid Sport variety. There's lots of different ones on the market, both Black Rapid and otherwise. Cotton Carriers are another brand I've used before that work very well. Some people use a little belt system that seems to work for some people. But for me, I usually use this when I'm kind of walking around. I want to have a hand free instead of, and it's very stable, and you can actually hang a camera with a 600mm lens on it. That's how stable it is. So if you need to get more information, it should be on these handouts. But if you want more information from me or Cindy, just ask us. Water protection for the gear, because it's going to rain probably some of the time. So your significant other might want to bring one of these lightweight dry bags to put some of their stuff in, just to keep things dry. If we get into a downpour. You can do the same any size you want. They're super lightweight. They're very portable, and they work pretty great. Okay. I like these. They're not too expensive. They're storm jackets for my lenses. They're different lengths and sizes, camo or black. I was in Alaska with Cindy last month, and my little one got lost, so I had to buy a new one. So, but they're not too expensive, and they work pretty well to keep things dry. So. Organizing your cables and things, this is really, really kind of nice to have. Something like this, you can pick something like this up at Amazon or any other electronics place. You can organize all your cables, because you're going to have cables for everything, chargers and this and that. It'd be nice to just have one spot that you can just grab stuff out of. Let's see. And the weather's unpredictable, so that's why you need to have those covers. Microfiber cleaning cloths, you have a lot of these. Bring a lot of these, because you'll misplace them. I always do, and I always get Julie to bail me out. So bring a lot of fibers, fiber cloths, microfiber cloths. Blowers, if you're going to clean your sensors or your gear, make sure you get a good blower. I like these Gyotos, but don't use it too much for the outside of the camera if you're going to blow the sensor, because you'll just be blowing dust, because this will suck up dust. So maybe bring it one just for the inside of the camera, one for the outside of the camera if you're going to do that. So, and any other cleaning stuff you use for sensor cleaning. I will have my own gear. I can't make any promises as to whether we can help you clean your sensors, but if there's time, I'll try to help you. So, okay, lens and camera body caps. Bring extras, because you will misplace them. Okay, This is a front camera body cap. This is a lens cap, rear lens cap. This is a front lens cap. Bring lots of them. And you notice that they all have my initials in them or my name in them. Okay, we're going to be with a pretty good sized group. And so if you lose a cap and you're a Canon guy and somebody else is a Canon lady and you're both missing one, whoever finds it first wins. Unless you use some sort of labeler. This is a Brother P-Touch. And I label pretty much everything that I can label, just so there's no misunderstanding, miscommunication. It's mine. It says Mark Z on it. So bring lots of them, because you are going to misplace them. You'll probably find most of them along the way, but you will misplace some for sure. Bring a lightweight towel, like I said in the first video, a ShamWow or something like a ShamWow. You know, it's really, really important because you're not going to use your microfiber lens cloths to dry off all your gear. Camera batteries, bring a lot. If you think you have a lot, bring 2 more. You're going to be shooting thousands of images in Africa. You're going to be amazed at all the action that happens, and you will be shooting a lot. So I don't care whether you have these little tiny ones or the big ones, the big pro level ones. I'll have 3 or 4 from my 1DX Mark II for sure. And I've shot over 1,000 images at least with one of these. And I know I'll exhaust at least 2, maybe even a third at some of these drives. Make sure you don't forget your chargers. When I was in Patagonia, one of the Nikon guys forgot his charger and couldn't shoot for a few days while they were trying to find a way to get him a charger from somebody in a small town in southern Argentina. So don't forget your chargers. Don't count on us being able to help you with chargers, because when we're coming back from game drives, first thing we're going to recommend you do, take out your batteries, put them in the chargers, take out your cards, download your images. We'll talk more about that when you come in for the briefing, but make sure you have chargers. And when it comes to like card readers, for example, make sure you have a couple card readers. Don't count on one, because if you get one that corrupts, same issue. You won't be able to download from your cards, and no matter how many cards you bring, you'll probably need more. And we'll talk a little bit about storing your images on cards versus hard drives. It's the weakest link, these cards. So if you think you're going to use it as a backup, okay, fine. If you're a very selective shooter, okay, fine. But you'll see Cindy and I don't use cards as our primary or secondary backups. We use hard drives, so for sure. And hard drive memory is so cheap. It's just a matter of making the time to download. And also, that'll allow you to know whether your card's corrupting. So when you download, you can open it up in Bridge or some other reviewing program, and you can see the images. And when you see the images, you know that you can reformat that card, okay? Because if you keep shooting and you just got a corrupt card, your camera may tell you that, it may not. It may read it, may be readable in the camera, but and I've seen it where you can see it in the camera, the images, but you can't see it, and it doesn't. The files are somehow corrupted when they get into the computer. I don't know how that happens, but it does. Okay, lights. So headlamps are probably going to be useful when you're walking around the camp in the morning, going from your tent to where the central reception area is, where we'll get our snacks and breakfast, light breakfast before we hit the road. So headlamps are great. Getting on and off vehicles. When we come back from a sundowner after an evening sunset shoot, headlamps are great. So I bring a headlamp. And then have a small flashlight, just a small flashlight to have around your tent or whatever. So, or if you're going around like to a bonfire or something, have some sort of light. Okay. Lightning trigger. So if you like shooting lightning, the most predictable way to do that is using some sort of a lightning capturing device. So lightning triggers allow you to capture lightning more predictably because they sense the electromagnetic energy of some sort that happens just before the visible lightning bolt strikes. I've used these for probably 10 plus years. I'm on my 3rd one, I think. And so they do, if you get a lightning trigger, the guy who makes them does them individually, and you have to tell him when you're leaving, and I would tell him you're leaving 2 weeks before you're leaving, because as great a guy as he is, he doesn't do them on time. So if you're using this sort, but there's other brands on the market, so you don't have to use lightning trigger, but most of us do use lightning triggers if you're going to do that. Computers and thumb drives, make sure your computer has enough memory space on it so you can manage your hard drives and things. Thumb drives could be valuable for image reviews. If we do some image reviews, they'll probably be more one-on-one type image reviews, or one in a small group. I think what we'll end up doing a lot of the time is we'll do some split training where Cindy will train people on one thing and I'll train people on another. Cindy has definite expertise in certain things way over where I do, and I might have a few things over where she does, and so, and you might find a comfort level with one or both of us for different things. So make sure you have thumb drives that you can put images on so we can take a look at them. Just a couple, like 32 gigabyte or something like that, not too big. Hard drives, I would do two terabyte hard drives, 2 of them, because you're going to shoot at least 1 terabyte most likely on this trip, especially if you do any amount of video, because video takes up a lot more memory. So I would definitely do that. SSD drives are faster and more stable, but they're way more expensive. Way more expensive. Make sure you have image rescue software on your computers in case you have problems with your cards, or say you reformatted a card and you really didn't download it, but you haven't shot images over it. You could save a lot of those images with image rescue software. I'll have some on my computer. Cindy might have some on hers. Best if you have some on your own and you know how to use it. It's pretty simple. And then backup software. So to get the images to be identical between the 2 hard drives, Cindy likes to use SuperDuper. There are other ones on the market. I agree. I've used SuperDuper ever since Cindy recommended it. I think it's a great piece of software. It's like 29 bucks, and make sure it's on your computer and it works, so you can clone one to the other. So power bricks. For small devices like iPads, iPhones, stuff like that, these power bricks are great, and they also have little USB ports as well. So I would bring 1 or 2 power bricks if that's what you do, use a lot of these smaller devices. I would definitely do that. Okay. These things are all on this handout that I've sent over to you. The plugs for Southern Africa are mostly these plugs. I don't know if you can see that. They're the round ones, 1 tall, wide one, and 2 smaller ones. But you may be going places where along the way or on your way back that might require other power sources. So if you're stopping over in London or Denmark or wherever, make sure you have some of these plugs. The camps a lot of times have these adapters, but don't count on it. So bring a few of those for sure. Okay, and I just happen to have a little Amazon. I just searched on Amazon. It's $8 for 3 of them for Southern Africa. So that's dirt cheap. Make sure you get some. Okay. What else? Okay, voltage. This is important that you tell the non-photographers this as well. Make sure that you get power strips that can handle the higher voltage, because Europe and Africa mostly is 220 to 240. We're mostly 110. So if you only have the lightweight 110s, you're going to burn out stuff. Most of your devices will tell you whether they can handle it, like our MacBook Pros and some of the other devices. It'll tell you that it can handle 120 to 240, then you're good. But also these, and you should have power strips. Like I'm going to bring 2 of these. Okay, maybe this and this, or maybe 2 of these, because I have 2 of these. And Julian will probably bring one too, because it can't have enough places to plug into. Okay, some of the places have power strips for us. We'll have power strips for us. Some of them won't. And so when we get to each camp, we're going to have to make sure that we set up places in the common area for charging. Some of the tents will have the ability to, in fact, I think all of them will have the ability for the electricity, but I can't 100% promise that. So that's why we'll have central areas. And make sure that your stuff all has the P-Touch label stuff on it. So even these strips, these power strip stuff. The cards that you carry, the card carrier, this Pelican one, this is waterproof. Make sure you have all your cards in there. I turn them upside down once I've used them, so if I haven't transferred them and reformatted them yet, I turn them upside down so I don't grab the one that's already full, because that just wastes time, and you don't need to waste time. Okay, so that's almost everything. Might not have power 24/7, might have power during the day and not at night, but each camp will find out. I will let you know. Okay, roller bags and camera bags. Okay, if you want to bring a roller bag, like say this one. Okay, this is an international one. It's Think Tank. It's really high quality. I've had it forever. Okay, it's great. Okay, but when you're pulling this through the sand at the camps, that's not good. So they do make a lot of these that have backpack straps on them. So if you want to bring a roller so you can travel and pull, or even a suitcase that acts as a rolling camera bag for your carry-on, which when you're in these international flights, some of them have weight restrictions if you're flying coach and not business class. So, and they're serious about it, so they may argue with you about checking your bags. Try never to check your bag. Argue, argue, argue. Tell them that you're a professional photographer, that you can't have that happen, that just whatever it takes, try not to give it up. And if you do have to give it up, make sure you have the TSA locks at least, so that you might have a chance of having everything show up. Okay. As far as backpacks go, Cindy's is actually, her primary backpack is even bigger than this one. This one will carry my 600, a couple camera bodies, and probably 3 other smaller lenses, one 100 to 400 and a couple other lenses. So this one is a Mindshift. Okay, you can see I have these carabiners hanging stuff off all the time, like I said in the other video. I would recommend you do that. Okay. I also like this one. This is also a Think Tank bag. It's a little bit lighter and smaller. If you don't have the size gear I have, it's really very, very usable. So many camera bags on the market. Cindy's is really good. I can't remember hers. It might be an F-stop. I can't remember. This one is a Moose Peterson bag. I've taken this to Africa 2 or 3 times. The good side is it's super light. Bad thing is there's nothing to protect anything on this side of the bag. So you have to be super careful if you use this sort of bag, that nothing gets piled on top of it, that doesn't fall like that. So it's a great bag. I put big long lenses and everything, but it's got its downside as well. Okay, so not sure if that's everything. I think it is. If there's any other questions or concerns, we've got a couple of months almost to get it together. Please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll be happy to take you through this stuff. And look forward to seeing you in October. Cheers. Addendum to this one as well. You could bring a gimbal head as long as it'll fit on whatever monopod you're using. Like I said, I wouldn't use a big heavy gimbal for anything. I just wouldn't personally. So you can, but realize it's going to take up a fair amount of weight, and it may not work for you from a support standpoint. The other thing is if you do get into this situation where they say you can't have a carry-on bag that weighs over whatever, then it would behoove you to have one of these little Scotty vests or something like this. The Scotty vest has like 20 pockets in it. I've put big lenses, I put camera bodies, I put hard drives in here. And for some reason, if you're wearing it, it's okay. If you're carrying it, it's not okay sometimes. So I would travel with a way that you can pull gear out, especially whatever is near and dear to you, like your hard drives, your computer, whatever, and so you can load this sucker up and then, fight the fight. If they argue with you, then say, well, then let me have it in my bag and I'll put this in the bag. So with that, see you soon.